for the Tojo Fitness podcast discussing all things body, mind and fitness. And this week we are looking at the ins and outs of cheat meals.
Cheat meals. What a wonderful thing that is.
What a great word, cheat.
What do you think of when you think of diets?
Oh, I guess when I think of diets, I think of restricted food intake.
Yep.
Making the most of the food that you eat, but like salad.
See, I think of broccoli.
Broccoli. Yeah, I
think
so.
of boring meals, the same over and over and over. And, you know, to be honest, there's no way of getting around this, is that if you have a specific goal to lose weight or to gain muscle, that it gets pretty boring, your food. It does. But months and months of hunger with no let-up, or months and months of boredom with no let-up, is going to make a dull boy.
Yeah,
you know,
girl.
Or a dull girl, yeah. And so cheat meals are part of the way of us getting around that, but also cheat meals are not cheating. They're actually a key part of any weight loss or muscle building strategy. And one of the things we've found, and not just with our clients, but with ourselves, and we want to talk to you about today, is about how cheat meals are actually can help you get towards your goal faster than not having any cheat meals. It's a very strange thing. And I used to think it was just psychological, that having a cheat meal would help you psychologically. But actually, it does some incredible things to your metabolism. So today we're going to tell you why that is, and we're also going to see how do we incorporate those into our diet and nutrition plan.
So we're just going to give you a bit of a scenario really as to how this happens, why this happens. Last year I did a shred for summer, and I needed to lose roughly, I think I lost about 10 kilos last summer. And my body, because it had actually come through cancer, and the metabolism had slowed right down. So during chemotherapy I stepped into menopause, and then I stepped out of menopause, which meant my body was in a right mess metabolically. So when I tried to lose weight, it was like, no, I know I'm not going to do this.
Didn't want to play ball, did it?
No. And so what it went into, which is number one as to why we need cheat meals, is my body had a famine response. It had a famine response. And what happens is that your body starts to freak out and panic because it feels that you're not feeding it enough nutrients, so it wants to hang on to what it's already got in the system. Well, what if we don't get another meal?
Yes, so the modern world we tend to think the world's always been like this, but the modern world where there's lots of food around all the time is a very, very new thing. And we've got tens of thousands of years, if not millions of years, of human growth and evolution, which has built us different to that. So, for instance, for most of human existence, food has been scarce. And because of scarcity, your body has learned a way of adapting and coping. Now, the first thing your body wants to do is to try and avoid dying quickly.
I actually feel like I'm dying when I am cutting.
Well, that's true. But its first role is to try and make sure that you stay alive today. If it can keep you alive today, it'll start thinking ahead of how do I keep you alive next month. Long-term health planning is a very, very new thing, because only now in our generation, really, and the last generation, have we been able to think about living 80, 90, 100 years and staying healthy. And so some of the way our body is set up is not particularly helpful to us. It will help us survive today, but not necessarily long term. So let's come back to that famine response issue. It starts sensing that you're feeding it less and less and less. And so your body assumes that the whole nation is in famine. And because of that, it panics. And when it panics, it says, oh my gosh, there is a famine going on, I need to, and then it does this second thing, which is a metabolic slowdown.
But I used to find, like, in a famine response, my body would give me anxiety.
Yes.
And I'm like, where on earth is this coming from? I've got this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach when I get hungry, and my body just responds by way of actual panic, actual anxiety, and I'm like, but you're going to be all right. There's going to be another salad in about 2 hours.
But your body doesn't know that because your body's trained for thousands and thousands of years of human existence of, well, what if there isn't something? If there's a famine, it could last 3 months. How are you going to survive for 3 months? And one of the ways it will do it will start you panicking. It will create anxiety, create lots of difficult, awkward, unpleasant feelings to try and focus you on the issue. So, for instance, you just don't feel like going out and digging in the ground to try and find some roots to boil up to make your dinner. And so your body starts releasing ghrelin, leptin in your body, which creates this growling in your stomach. And you start getting irritable, you start getting grouchy, you start getting panicky, sense of anxiety, food anxiety. And all these things are your body's way of driving you out of your hut to go and dig in the ground and find some roots and boil them up. Or eventually the man of the household just becomes so irritable that the wife says, "For goodness sake, will you go out of this house and dig roots?" And out he goes and dutifully dig roots. It's the famine response.
Yep. So, which then, when you have the famine response, like we said, we come into a metabolic slowdown.
Yeah.
So, let's just explain what your BMR is.
It's a basal metabolic rate.
Right. So it's the rate in which your body will burn energy.
Yes, it is.
Energy intake. What's the rate in which your fire is stoked, basically?
Yeah, so my iPad, I've got an iPad here with some of my notes on it. And that iPad, most of the time, is running at 100% power.
Yeah.
It's just putting the power in there and doing the job. But if it drops down to about 10% or 5%, it goes into low power mode.
Yeah.
And what it does is it will power down a lot of other things to try and reduce the amount of energy it uses. And so instead of using 100% of the power, it might be using 50% of the power. Now, because of that...
Low power mode.
Yeah, that's it. So I lose some functionality in it. It might run a lot slower and a lot more sluggish and so on. It might not communicate so well with other computers on the network, but it's still running. And our body does the same. Our metabolic rate slows down. We start feeling tired. We start feeling lethargic. We don't really want to socialise.
Yeah.
We certainly don't want to procreate and do that sort of stuff because and all these things they're part of the body's way of slowing you down in order to preserve the energy, or in the iPad's case, the battery that's left. And when metabolic slowdown happens, your body becomes more frugal with burning calories, so it will make calories go further. Have you ever been driving down the road, down the motorway, and you're on your petrol tank is on red, and instead of burning down there at 90 miles an hour, you now reduce and go down at 40 miles an hour because you're going to you're going to make the little bit of energy you've got last a lot longer. Yeah. Well, your body's essentially the same. It reduces the amount of calories. It gets more bang for its buck out of your calories.
Yeah. So what it does is that it actually starts then to preserve essential body fat around your organs. Yeah. So a lot of your organs are cushioned with fat. Probably some people are more cushioned than others. But the body actually seeks to hold on to it and so won't let it go.
Yeah, if you drop down, your body fat drops down. For a guy, below about 5%, you're below essential body fat. And below about 5%, I've gone down to 4.8 before, and it's a horrible, horrible place.
You're cold all the time.
Yeah. But also the essential fats you need, your fats in your system regulate your hormones and so on.
Yeah, they have so many functions.
When a girl gets very, very lean in body fat, her periods will stop.
Yep. Because
the body says, hang on a second, this girl she doesn't have the body fat necessary to carry a pregnancy. And she won't be able to produce milk once the baby's born and so on. So your body's very clever.
Yeah.
And it slows down. So what it's trying to do, it's trying to preserve essential body fat. Now, the thing is that your body always overestimates this. Although you only need 5%, your body's much happier if it keeps 20%. So if you're a bodybuilder or you're trying to get down really lean, you hit this issue where your body says, hang on a minute, if you go below 10%, now 10% body fat for a guy is really good now. It's a good, healthy, everything's going to be functioning perfectly, great. Perhaps about 10% is about optimum, 10 to 12% for guys. Now, 100, 200, 300 years ago, that would have been dangerously low, because if you had had a food supply, interruption in the food supply for just a short amount of time, you could die because you drop below the essential fat. So your body will always try and hold on to essential fat, but it always overestimates.
Yeah.
And so when you reach that point, your metabolism slows down. You then hit this point where your body says, hang on, I know you're at 20% body fat, but I think that's enough. And it puts the brakes on and it stops burning fat. And once it stops burning fat, you'll find, especially if you're on a diet, all your energy will disappear. You haven't got enough carbohydrates in your system. Yeah. This is why bodybuilders, just before a competition, they can barely function.
Yeah.
When you see these guys and girls doing interviews, they can barely put one word in front of another. Their brain is fuzzy. They feel angry, frustrated, scared, anxious, tired, lethargic all the time.
So this leads on to another reason why we need our cheat meal, and why how our body responds to not having that is mental fatigue, where we've just covered brain farts.
Yeah.
So basically, as we know, food is energy. Food is fuel, not only for the body, but also for brain function. And so as much food as goes into the system, the brain then starts to function properly. When you starve or reduce the amount of energy intake, the brain really starts to act up.
Sure. And not just because it's getting less glucose, but because your body, when you challenge homeostasis is your body wants to stay exactly the same. It doesn't want to change. When you challenge that, your body punishes you. And one of the ways it punishes you is mentally.
Yeah.
And so if you've been on a long diet, I mean, if you've been calorie restricted for a long time, you start getting just so bored with it that you would happily rip your arm off and eat it. But equally, bodybuilders who are bulking will get very fed up with eating huge amounts of food.
It's either end of the spectrum for bodybuilding, though, isn't it?
Yeah, if I'm bulking, I long for the time when I could feel what it's like to have an empty stomach, because it's this mental fatigue. We just get fed up with it. And this is another reason we need cheat meals to stop the famine response. We need them to interrupt metabolic slowdown, but we also need it just for a mental change of air to help us to keep going.
Yeah, it's true. Also, it helps balance the hormones.
Oh, goodness, yeah. And now you think we're going to talk about girls, but I'm going to talk about guys.
No, I'm going to shut up for a minute.
Because this is a guy thing. Guys have hormones too. Our hormones aren't estrogen. Our hormones predominantly are testosterone. We also have estrogen. In actual fact, you can't build muscle without estrogen. But
although I'm sure that guys get PMT at the same time as girls.
Yeah,
or they have their own versions of PMT. I'm sure they do. Anyway,
TMT.
Yeah, go on, you go now.
Long, low-carb diets trash man's testosterone levels. You can't build muscle without testosterone. Testosterone is the substance. It's the golden substance. It's the thing we want to have, guys. We want to have a high free testosterone levels. It's the thing that makes us men. It's the thing that gives us the edge. If you have low testosterone, you'll have mental fog. You'll find it difficult to maintain muscle mass or put on muscle. You'll find you'll start putting on fat all around your waist. You'll find with low testosterone, your skin tone goes to pieces.
You get depressed.
With low testosterone, you get very, very depressed.
And also impatient.
Impatient. With low testosterone, you can also, your sex drive disappears with low testosterone. So an awful lot of guys, 40 plus, certainly 50 plus, testosterone naturally rolls off as you get older. And testosterone for a guy in his second half of his life is a key factor in him staying healthy. Now, why did I tell you all that? Because long, low-carb diets trash your testosterone production. It goes through the floor. And I've done this. I've tested my testosterone levels through blood tests. I've done it on a normal diet, and I've done it in the middle of a low carb drive. And this is why guys who are on keto diets often find this. And the blood work's come back, and I've found my testosterone levels are through the floor. And it explains why I'm feeling lousy. Now, other things affect testosterone production as well. Low-fat diets also cause low testosterone production. All hormones need fats to be produced and for proper functioning. So estrogen is reliant on fats. Testosterone is reliant on fats. So you go super, super low fat, testosterone dries up. The reason why testosterone seems to dry up when you're on a low carb diet is because low carb doesn't actually destroy your actual testosterone production, but it does increase SHBG levels, and SHBG levels eat testosterone effectively. So your testosterone levels will stay the same, but the reason you feel like you're low testosterone on a low carb diet is because your SHBG level gets so elevated that it gobbles up all the free testosterone and it can't be used for building muscle. And that leads to acute depression in men. And this is why guys who are on long, low carb, low fat diets often get really, really depressed. They're miserable to be around. There's my bit for the guys. You do the next bit.
Thank you. So another reason to have a cheat meal is for energy replenishment. Energy replenishment. There's nothing like a whole plate of carbs, sometimes to put you to sleep, to be honest. But carbohydrates are the body's number one intake for energy. So I'm talking about good carbohydrates. I'm not talking about your white crap.
Yeah.
But a good amount of carbohydrates just starts to replenish the stores that have been depleted within the body, and that'll give you a whole burst of energy. Now, just as an aside, the amount of times that I get asked, how long before my workout do I have some food? An hour to an hour and a half before your workout, few carbohydrates, good carbohydrates, and that will fuel your workout, just as an aside.
So as another aside, one of the reasons why when you're on a low carb diet you don't sleep very well is because your body is telling you, why are you sleeping? I don't have enough carbohydrates for energy. You need to go out and you need to dig the roots and make some soup. And so when you eat a high carb diet, you sleep well.
Oh, man.
And that's important. So this is another reason we need cheat meals. We need them for famine response. We need them to interrupt metabolic slowdown. We need them to beat mental fatigue. We need them to keep hormone balance, but we need them for this energy replenishment.
Yeah.
So we regain the core energy stores that have become depleted through a long period of dieting. Now, how do we do cheat meals?
Yeah, so one of the main things is for my clients personally, I will watch their metabolism.
Yeah.
And I will throw in a cheat meal at a particular time of week, and I say, this is the day I want you to have your cheat meal, and then I watch what their weigh-in does on Sunday. And I ask them overnight as well, what has your body done overnight? Has it lost weight? Has it gained fat? So I can actually test the water. What's this person's response going to be to a cheat meal?
One of the things we found is that, and it's almost without exception, there are exceptions, but it's almost without exception that when you put in a cheat meal of the right type at the right time, the next morning body fat has been stripped away.
I lost 2% of body fat overnight the other day.
Yeah.
And I put on mass. Yeah. Lost fat.
And that's partly this result of a cheat meal, how it has such a phenomenal effect on the metabolism. So plan to cheat.
Yeah.
Don't think, I'm going to pig out tonight, and you get out the cookie dough ice cream and go crazy and think, I'd call it a cheat meal. No, plan your cheat.
Yeah.
We plan a cheat. We have one cheat meal every week.
And here's the key. It's a cheat meal, not a cheat day.
Yeah.
So we pick one meal, and we're like, right, what do we want on that meal?
And which means you don't starve yourself beforehand.
Yeah.
If you take, so I'm going to have my cheat meal in the evening, you don't eat anything during the day, and in the evening you eat 2,500 calories, you're going to put on weight, you're going to put on fat.
That's not the way it works.
You eat normally as you would normally eat, and then your cheat meal, let's say it's an evening meal, you would add somewhere between 200 to 400 calories to that meal.
Yeah.
That's simply it. So we, for instance, we try to earn the burn.
Yeah.
So we always cheat on something like leg day.
Yeah, something where you feel that you've actually burnt quite a few calories.
Yeah.
And you're like, today is going to be my cheat day, and normally it does fall on leg day. But here's some examples as well as to what we actually have as a cheat meal.
Yeah, let's give some examples.
For us, we have half a Domino's pizza each. So half a Domino's pizza is about 4 slices.
Yeah.
Roughly, that's about 1,800 calories in 4 slices.
4 large slices.
Yeah, 4 large slices.
It's a lot of pizza.
That is a lot. It's a lot. It feels like it should be a lot of carbs, but Domino's pizza is my sweet spot for my cheat
18
meal.
is the whole pizza.
Yeah,
I think so. It's
but Domino's pizza is my cheat meal where I'll actually lose fat.
Yeah, it's true.
It's crazy.
We're both the same. If once a week, if we have half a large Domino's pizza that evening meal, we'll go to bed. We'll sleep really well, and sleep is really important. So if you're sleeping well, your body settles down, your metabolism goes up, you burn fat better if you're sleeping well.
Yeah.
But the next morning we'll have lost fat, and it's a good thing for us. So
here's some other examples. McDonald's breakfast.
You never thought we would tell you this. But actually, perhaps
I'm only going to tell you this once.
A McDonald's breakfast is okay.
Yeah. Apple strudel and custard.
Oh, come on, bring it on.
Yeah. Cheese and biscuits for supper.
Yep.
But here's the thing, is that everything in moderation. Note that we're not having a Domino's pizza each.
Yeah.
You know, we're actually staying a little bit sensible here and not going beyond the threshold of eating too much.
Yeah, you never want to get to the point where you're feeling bloated.
Yeah.
You want to feel a cheat meal is
just before that stage.
A cheat meal is not a gluttony meal. It's not an eating contest.
No.
So we'll have half a Domino's pizza. You feel great at the end of that.
Yeah.
But you don't feel absolutely bloated. McDonald's breakfast, I love that sausage and egg McMuffin. But the double one, it's a little bit too much. It's pushing it.
It's a bit overkill for me.
Pie and mash. Bit of pie. Everybody likes a bit of pie and mash or something
pie,
like that.
Mash and liquor?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? So there's a few examples to incorporate your cheat meal. Here's the major points that we've just covered. So plan to cheat. Earn the burn.
Can I just jump in on earn the burn?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we do it on a day when we've trained legs, if you train really hard and heavy, say in the morning, your metabolism's cranked much more throughout that day anyway.
Burn more.
So you're going to burn more calories anyway. If you just worked out your biceps and then you have your cheat meal, you're going to, all those extra calories you're going to have to deal with. Mm-hmm. But you can offset a little bit with it by doing it on a day when you work really, really hard.
Yeah. Cheat in moderation. So we're just allowing an extra 200 to 400 calories extra on that day. Preferably extra fats and carbs, not simple sugars. Don't go and buy a whole tray of Krispy Kreme donuts and down the lot. Don't starve yourself before. So don't say, well, I've starved myself all day, therefore I'm going to have the entitlement to eat all of my calorie allocation in the evening. Doesn't work that way, unfortunately. You're just going to go to bed with a belly full. It won't go anywhere. And obviously, we've just given you some examples as well. How to have a cheat meal.
And enjoy it.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Without any guilt.
Guilt-free.
And you'll find with that, it will interrupt your famine response.
Mm-hmm.
It will keep your metabolism bubbling along nice and fast. It will stop you going crazy with mental fatigue. It will help keep your hormones nice and in balance, and it will replenish your energy. The other time we sometimes do a cheat meal is if we know we've got to do legs the next morning.
Yeah,
the night before,
extra
we'll have
energy.
a high carb meal.
Yeah.
Carb up for that. So there's cheat meals. I hope that's been helpful for you. I hope you'll enjoy a cheat meal, and when you do it, you'll be thankful to us for saying you could do it guilt-free. And then because you planned it, you can hop straight back on the wagon immediately afterwards and get back on.
But I wouldn't do more than one a week.
No.
No more than one a week, and make sure that you actually have exercised.
Yes.
Well, this is us from Tojo Fitness. We hope this has been encouraging and helpful to you in this January of 2021. Stay safe. We are still in a lockdown, and we shall catch you in a couple of weeks' time.
And enjoy that Domino's pizza. God bless you. Bye now.